Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. I'm Nicole Kauffman, and for today's video I'm going to talk about our first 2 weeks home with a newborn. So here is baby Bennett. He was born 3 weeks ago now, and it has been quite an experience. We've definitely really loved it, but there's been a lot that I wish I knew beforehand, and a lot that I kind of did learn beforehand watching different videos like this, and just doing a lot of research. And there's a lot of late nights spent awake and feeding him, so I did a lot of research in those hours too. So he's just chilling here on his boppy lounger, which I love, and it's one of the only things, being so little, that he can really sit in with his neck supported. So you'll probably hear his little noises as I go through this. I wrote a couple notes on my phone so that I can remember to say everything that I wanted to talk about. So I will be looking down to see that, and let's go ahead and get started. So, I made a whole video on my hospital experience, which I absolutely loved. Our hospital was solely for women's and babies. The nurses and the staff were so great. It was bless you. It was a really great experience, and we learned so much there. So definitely check out that video. I'll link to it above. Just all of the tips and tricks that I would recommend making use of when you're at the hospital, and then also just my experience there. So the first thing I want to say is we are such first-time parents. It's so funny to me because I didn't think I'd be like this. I grew up nannying, and I've watched so many newborns, so many babies, so many kids, that a lot of it does come naturally to me, but it's so funny how paranoid we were the first couple of days, and still are, about some things. Like we have him in a pack and play beside our bed, and we'd like not hear anything for a few minutes and be like, okay, we need to check on him. Is he still breathing? And we're both like that. So it's really funny. We couldn't sleep the first night. I talk about this in my hospital video, but he came out really quickly. And so apparently when that happens, it doesn't squeeze out all of the amniotic fluid that's in them. So in the hospital, he started like choking up, throwing up this amniotic fluid and choking on it. And so it was kind of a panicky experience, and so we were really paranoid. We wouldn't want to lay him flat and not watch him because he would spit up this amniotic fluid and then start choking on it. We were really afraid the first night, and we really didn't sleep. We kind of took turns watching him, which is just such a first-time parent thing. And we went to the doctor the next evening for his first appointment because he had lost a lot of weight. And so they were really checking up on that. And she was just like, you guys need to let him go. Like, you need sleep. Let him go. He'll be fine. And so it was so funny because we swaddled him the next night, put him in the pack and play, and we both walked out of the room for like a minute. And we came back and there was just spit up all down his swaddle. So we were like, okay, so now we know he'll survive. And I'm kind of glad that happened when we were out of the room, because otherwise we probably would have heard him spitting up and like clearing it, and that would have made us panicky. So that is one thing that I didn't really expect from myself. I'm not normally the super, I worry, but normally I'm like, I'm okay if they cry it out kind of person. And I didn't expect to be so paranoid about every little thing and just constantly checking up on him. So the first 2 nights that we really slept with him, minus that first night, he did so great. We woke up, fed him. I was having trouble with some breastfeeding things, so we were figuring that out, but I woke up, fed him, and we'd go back to sleep, and he did great. And I was like, we have this awesome baby, sleeps so well from the start. So after that, things kind of changed a little bit. Feeding him got a little bit harder. He was struggling to latch. He was getting really, really gassy and just uncomfortable. And so sleeping was just not working out. Like, we literally we learned that we needed to take shifts, because if we both were trying to sleep with him in the bedroom, neither of us was going to sleep. So we actually have an air mattress on the floor right here that we still are sleeping on sometimes, so that at least one of us can get like solid sleep, and the other one can be in here while he's just like, I feel so bad, he's just like miserable. And so the first couple of nights of that were just rough. I went into labor in the middle of the night, which you can check out my labor video. And so we had gotten like 2 hours of sleep, was in labor, and then of course in the hospital you barely get any sleep. So I just feel like the first week home was really rough because we were just lacking sleep, which I know is really normal. And so there were just so many late nights where I was just in here crying, and my husband was like, it's gonna be okay, like, we're just tired, it's gonna be okay. And that was like really tough, just being sleep deprived and like struggling with breastfeeding, and he was miserable. And so that was something that was definitely tough, but I wouldn't say that it was awful. I mean, there were so many like just special moments that first week. I was so grateful my husband was able to be home almost for the first entire week. And that was so special to have that time where, you know, we had visitors and that got overwhelming at times, but my husband was able to help me just get my stuff together when I was trying to feed him and it was taking forever. And just having time to like switch off and knowing that like we both could sleep the next day versus he has to wake up at 6:30 and go to work. That was really awesome having him home. So the first week, with the exception of him starting to not sleep well and us not sleeping and just being like emotional because of the lack of sleep, the first week was really just special, and I really enjoyed it. I was really nervous about coming home from the hospital because there was so much support there, but honestly, that first week, I just really enjoyed every little moment with him. All the moments of him on my chest after he would eat and he'd just be looking up at me, or the moments of just holding him while he slept peacefully, because he really sleeps great in people's arms. And that's something that we had to learn a lot about, the day-night confusion, and just learning how to get him to sleep at night was definitely a struggle. The second week, I would say, is when things got harder, and I think part of that was because my husband went back to work, and then the other part was that sleep deprivation had just built up so much, emotions had built up so much. I think I was starting to feel a little bit more hopeless about things just because the first couple of days you're like, okay, we'll get this, and then slowly you're like, will we get this, and then you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna get this. So that second week definitely was harder. I started having a lot more like baby blues emotions, which I'm going to talk about in a later video. And I expected those to come. And when they started, they weren't exactly as I expected. But over time, they definitely turned into the total stereotypical baby blues. And that was tough because I was definitely really afraid of postpartum depression. But my husband was really supportive and I really powered through and got through that. So I'll definitely talk about that more in a future video. But that was something that was definitely hard. And then also that second week, I started realizing that my pain from labor, like I had pain in my pelvis and in my hips and kind of in the front, like where my bladder would be, it was getting a lot worse. I had been taking the same amount of like Advil that they had me on in the hospital, and slowly, like every day I was taking more, and also then I added in Tylenol, and so that was something that I ended up back in triage for. So all of the times I was in triage before having a baby, and then afterwards, it was kind of fun to like see the nurses and the check-in lady and be like, hey, here's my baby, because I had been in triage so many times. But they pretty much concluded that I strained my pelvis in labor. Still not quite sure about that yet. The pain has come and gone. It definitely has gotten better, but it kind of has come back now. So she mentioned maybe I would need PT for that, and having Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which I talk about in this video, that is something that definitely puts me at risk for more ligament and tendon and joint issues. So honestly, when I pushed really hard for a long time, and so that is something that I guess I strained my pelvis. I literally had like claw marks on the inside of my legs, like bruise marks of my fingers as I'm like pulling my legs trying to like push him out. So that's something that I had to deal with, and that was hard with recovery, and it still is. Just getting up while holding him was like really painful. So that second week was definitely really tough. We really figured out doing shifts at that point at night. I was starting to figure out the things that I needed to heal. I needed to be resting. Like the doctor literally told me, not that I'm putting you on bed rest, but rest more than you are, which is kind of hard to hear when literally all you're doing is feeding your baby and sitting on the couch or in this chair. That was something that I definitely had to adjust to, but that did get better over the third week, and now we're heading into the fourth week, which is crazy. So one of the things that I definitely want to encourage you on, and that really helped us, was enlisting a lot of help. I had my husband home the first entire week, and that was amazing. After that, I had my mom come up and stay for a couple of days, and then I had my husband's mom over, and his sister was over just so I could shower or take a nap, which I definitely needed. And so it was something that I definitely would recommend is, don't be afraid to ask for help. That was something that I had been told, and when you're in it, you're like, okay, like maybe I should be good by now. And that was definitely a battle that I think me and my husband both had to really deal with and overcome, was that we're not out of that helping stage. Like, it's okay to ask for help, and as long as we need it. Even into the 3rd week, I ended up asking my mom to come back again. I was feeling physically a lot better, but just emotionally and I was just exhausted. And so I had her come up, and it was really great just having somebody there, somebody to burp the baby after I'm done feeding, somebody to hold him while I sleep. And just somebody to be there with me. And so I've definitely enjoyed having people help out with that, and we've been so appreciative of that. The other thing is our Sunday school class does meals for people who have babies, and so they did 9 meals, which is every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that was so helpful. I had not gotten to do all of the freezer meals that I wanted to do beforehand because of my prodromal labor, all of my contractions that I was having beforehand, and really just trying to take it easy because I was really early at that point. So I didn't get all of the meals in the freezer that I wanted, but we were so grateful to have the meals from people at our church and family and other friends who were either stopping by with food to visit him and then also share a meal with us, or dropping extra food off. So that was something that helped so much, because honestly, I can't imagine having to cook during that time. Especially once my husband went back to work. So those first 2 weeks really are all about learning how to breastfeed, trying to get sleep, and just being in that survival of, not getting sleep and then trying to get sleep every chance you can. That special time that you can have with your baby in those first 2 weeks where it's just you and you don't have any other expectations besides literally just feeding your baby and then trying to sleep. And just all of the cuddles. That was something that I really enjoyed, and it was really important to make time for amidst all of the visitors and all of the healing and all of the stress and all of the sleep deprivation. It was so important to have those moments where you could cuddle. And gas. Baby gas is a huge thing, which I didn't know about. Babies' digestive systems aren't able to necessarily digest milk initially, and so they have to kind of learn how to do that, and they have to learn how to fart and learn how to get gas out, which is just, I never knew any of that. So just helping them, burping them a lot, patting their butt so it can help break up the gas bubbles, doing all the bicycle kicks. I think I'm going to do a video on that in the future, because that's something that he really struggled with and something that I've learned a lot about. So if you're in those first 2 weeks, or if you're looking forward to them, I just want to say they are some of the most special moments that you're going to have. They're really tough, and I definitely would recommend looking up all the tips that you can and just getting all of the help that you can. But also really enjoy that time, because that's something that is really powerful in helping you bond with your baby. And that's something that's just really special, that, that's time that we're never going to get back, those first moments with our baby. So if you're in those first 2 weeks, hang in there. I still need people to tell me that every day. 1 day at a time is what people keep telling me. Just because you don't get sleep one night doesn't mean you won't get it the next. And then just because you do get sleep one night doesn't mean that you will get it the next. But just hang in there and enjoy those moments. And I look forward to sharing more about how it goes. And let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what happened in your first 2 weeks if you have already been through that. And if you have any encouragement, leave them in the comments below, because if you're watching this video and you're in the first 2 weeks, I'm telling you, you need all the encouragement you can get. Literally go on Pinterest and look up motherhood encouragement. Look up breastfeeding encouragement and just pin all of the quotes. That's what I did, and it really, really helps. So I'm excited to keep sharing my journey with you. I'm going to be sharing my breastfeeding journey and some more videos like that. If you haven't checked out my labor video, you can check that out. I'll link to that here, and then also link to that below. And make sure that you subscribe so that you can follow along on this journey with me, and I'm so excited for you guys to join me. I'll see you guys next week.